The Vice President of Minmetals and its Project Director for the Minmetals deal is Mark Liu. He joined me from our Melbourne studios earlier. Mark Liu, welcome to Late Line Business.
Thanks, Ellie.
You've now officially launched MMG. This deal is well and truly done, but it has to be said it's not the deal that you wanted in the first place. You've picked up most of Minerals' assets, but not perhaps the best one, Prominent Hill. When you were stopped from buying that on national interest grounds, was there any thoughts about abandoning the deal?
I think all along, in all the areas outside of China, we adopt a mentality. Whenever you do a deal, you must not looking what is good for you, also what is good for your counterparty. For what the final structure of the deal, I think we end up is a win-win, not just for the two companies, also for the Australian government and also for Australian communities.
I just wonder, though, how both sides of this transaction could have so many highly paid advisors and yet miss the fact that Prominent Hill, this very large asset, was in a restricted area and you wouldn't be allowed to buy it on national security grounds. How was that missed?
Well, I haven't got a chance to ask my advisors.
But did it surprise you?
Was a surprise, but again, I think utmost a disappointment at that time, but then we'll be able to turn around a restructured deal and represent it to Australian government. And subsequently, of course, we got endorsement and support from Australian government.
A lot has been written about Chinese investment in Australia, particularly after the failure of the Chinalco bid for Rio Tinto. Do you, you've lived in Australia for a very long time, do you detect a hint of xenophobia in the commentary?
Yes, actually, what I'm very much sensitive on all the critics about Chinese investment. But all along, I think this is something is challenge for our investment, particularly now for this new company which is being revealed to the public today, MMG. Is a challenge for us to perform beyond expectations. And all around also be able to answer some critics. We'll be able to address and deliver what we have promised.
Well, I take it from that then that you do recognise, I guess, the concern about a state-owned enterprise as a shareholder versus a purely commercial player. And I wonder, if you like, how you answer that, because in the end, you are answerable to your main shareholder, and that is a sovereign government with its own sovereign interests.
We are Chinese government owned, that's fact, there's no denial about that, but we're not government controlled. With over 30 years, Chinese government has driven this reform, economic reform policy. You're probably going to see quite a lot of companies like ourselves, Minmetals, going to very much commercialized. We are obey the market practice, doctrines. We come to a country like Australia, we will respect the practice locally here, the law, the standard, the regulations. That's really what we are here for.
But government-owned, but not government-controlled. But that's a fine line, isn't it? If I read from the website just today, at the website of your parent, it says in 1999, China Minmetals was listed among the 44 key enterprises with a great bearing on national security and economic lifeline. Hypothetically, down the track, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, if there is a global crisis with commodity supply, will you then become controlled by the government?
I think from the shareholder point of view, what I'm sensing is really we are being mandated to driving on commercial practice on economic ground.
But at a time of crisis, the commercial could be outweighed or is likely to be outweighed by the political, isn't it?
I've been working with Minmetals for over 10 years. I certainly haven't got a sense of pressure from that.
So where next for MMG in this country? What interests you?
Our first objective is to make sure that the assets we have acquired is going to be successful. We will deliver to the shareholders what we have been commissioned to, and then how to grow the company.
So when you look at growing MMG in this country, are there particular commodities you wish to focus on? Are you perhaps more focused on smaller assets or even startups?
At the moment, nothing being excluded. As be earlier at this stage is the first day the MMG company is being introduced, and we are going to have our first board meeting. So we have our shareholders coming from Beijing, and we are seeking mandate from them, and we're looking what there are the expectations of the company. And at the moment, certainly from MMG point of view, is nothing excluded.
How deep are your pockets? I mean, you've just spent well over $1.5 billion. Have you got a lot more in the kitty?
Well, that's exactly something I have addressed to the MMG staff and also management. We cannot expect the shareholders with unlimited capital. And we have to make sure that we operate the company very much standalone and be able to operate the company on an independent basis.
Does that mean that in the short term you won't be able to go back to Beijing for more money, even if there is a good deal on the table?
It's not necessary. Of course, if a good project's on the table and then the shareholder thinks it's necessary for further capital investment, I'm sure shareholder will looking seriously, very closely on those issues.
What about the outlook more generally? Do you see demand as being flat, particularly given the extent to which a number of commodities have been stockpiled in China at the moment?
That's right, Ellie. I mean, at the moment we feel that the stock level is still high on all the base metals, and we haven't seen positive signals of demand return. We still expect the market to be flattened for quite a while.
How long's quite a while?
Oh, quite a while, maybe a few months.
A few months or a few years?
Well, I hope not going to be a few years, for everybody's sake, yeah.
Mark Liu, many thanks for joining Late Line Business.
Thank you, Ellie.